Thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. I've gotten a lot of hate on this channel before, but this video in particular is gonna piss a lot of Apple fanboys off. Call me unhinged, but I'm just gonna say it. 2023 was one of Apple's most disappointing, underwhelming, confusing, and flat out boring years we've seen from them in a long time. We did not get a big iPhone redesign. We got no updates to the iPad at all. We didn't even get a color change for the Apple Watch Ultra that should have been a basic given feature for version 2. Which sort of begs the question, what happened to Apple this year? As a very passionate Apple fan, I feel like myself and many others are feeling a bit frustrated as of late with Apple's lack of direction, especially in 2023. So let me explain why I'm frustrated, why I think this year was such a missed opportunity from Apple, and I'm already on Apple's naughty list, I'm on the blacklist, so I'm gonna go a little unfiltered here and just tell you why Apple this year was bad, really bad. So if I had to use one word to describe Apple's performance in 2023, for me, it's gonna be confusing, because on one hand, there was some good news. It wasn't all horrible. There were some cool advancements made. The iPhone 15 Pro introduced some cool stuff with the camera. There was some great stuff and some exciting moments to be had. I mean, check out Vision Pro. But also at the same time, there was a real lack of direction. The iPad line seems to be floundering. There were some weird 2022 fragment announcements thrown into 2023 because Apple didn't know when to do them. Some weird release cycles for Apple Silicon. It just seems very confusing. And as we end 2023 and look ahead into 2024, I really hope Apple gets there together and fixes things and makes things right. For example, let me just sort of go in chronological order and air my grievances. The year started with this weird mini virtual event that just dropped onto YouTube early one random January morning. And from all of the little bits and clues that the internet sleuths found, it seemed like this was supposed to come out in the fall of 2022, but for whatever reason it got delayed, so Apple just randomly dropped it in the beginning of 2023. But hey, better late than never. Nice to see the power of the higher-end M2 chips in the MacBook Pro. Nice to see the Mac Mini sticking around. This is all well and good, but it was also around this time that Apple introduced, or reintroduced, it's a little confusing, the full-size HomePod, which makes even less sense in 2023 than it did when they introduced it, back in 2018, 2019? This product still continues to be a huge missed opportunity for Apple because they just can't get it right. For many mysterious reasons, this product disappeared and then reappeared from the dead in 2023, without really any meaningful changes. Some even say the OG HomePod sounds better than the new version 2. There was no meaningful update to Siri. It's still as dumb as it ever was before. And for $299, this is still a vastly overpriced product for what you get. I understand if you're in the Apple ecosystem and you love HomePods, but I'll say, even as someone who is in the Apple ecosystem, you couldn't give me a free HomePod and tell me or compel me to use it. For $300, it's vastly overpriced for what you're getting and what Apple's delivering. And Siri is still, I'm just gonna say it again, dumb as a rock in 2023, and again, has seen no meaningful improvement, which is sad, especially since HomePod really relies on that to make a lot of the magic happen. In the spring, we got a yellow iPhone 14 and 14 Plus via press release. Okay, nice to see, but no spring event. The first time in a while that Apple didn't give us a spring event, which was particularly interesting because we had heard rumors building for a while that there was going to be a dedicated spring event for Apple to show us the mixed reality AR VR headset, which ultimately became Vision Pro, should have come to us sort of early to mid 2023, but for whatever reason that didn't happen. Can't hold that against Apple because that was just a rumor, but it was a very light spring. And honestly, the first half of 2023 was extremely light for Apple news. But then came late May, where we got a couple of interesting announcements for the iPad with the launch of two hotly requested apps that would be Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro finally coming to iPadOS. Amazing, right? It was gonna be a game changer, revolutionary. These would finally make the iPad amazing, right? It was gonna change everything. Well, no, that really didn't happen, and I feel like the iPad today is just as lost, if not more lost, than it's ever been before, even though now it can say it has Pro apps. Now, if I'm gonna be painfully honest, I gotta tell you that this isn't really something I blame Apple for sort of being a flop, but really it's what I blame myself for and others in the community who are enthusiasts who beg Apple to do something and give us pro apps, but then when they launch those pro apps, I feel like no one really uses them. All the people I know who really genuinely use the iPad rely on third-party apps to do their video editing and their audio editing. Yes, it's nice that Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro exist, but I'm not sure if it was just too little too late, or it was the odd subscription pricing, or it was the feature set or some sort of missing link, but I feel like these were a flash in the pan. They came, there was some excitement, but now, like 6-7 months later, is it just me or does no one really care that these ever came to the iPad? Okay, so admittedly, I've been a little harsh on Apple in this video, but to be honest, they're not the only ones that could learn a thing or two. I could learn a thing or two about different science, technologies, and computers. I love computers, I'm a big Apple fan, as you know, and I have been searching for a fun and interactive way to learn the ins and outs of things like computer science, and I finally found that thanks to this video's sponsor, Brilliant. And if you haven't heard of Brilliant, it's the best way to learn math, data science, and computer science interactively at your own pace and on your own time. Brilliant's got thousands of lessons from basics to advanced topics and new lessons added every single month, and I love that Brilliant really customizes the content to fit your needs and again, lets you solve these problems and do these lessons at your own pace, on your own time, no rushed classroom environment here. If you want to take things slow, you can totally do that with Brilliant. I've honestly had a blast running through the fundamentals of computer science. It has been extremely eye-opening, and I love that I'm problem solving in an interactive way that feels a lot more meaningful than like doing pointless tasks, if that makes sense. And honestly, it's thanks to what I'm learning with Brilliant that I feel like I can better analyze and discuss new topics on this channel and sort of have a better understanding of what goes into Apple software because I'm learning some fundamentals of computer science for myself. I'm not an expert yet, but I'm getting there thanks to Brilliant. Best of all is that you can get started totally for free for 30 days, and the first 200 people to click the link down below and sign up will get 20% off an annual plan just by going through our special link down below or heading to brilliant.org/theapplecircle. So learn more, check it out for yourself today, learn some amazing stuff, and again, totally free for 30 days, and that special offer, first 200 people will get 20% off the annual plan by visiting our special link down below, brilliant.org/theapplecircle. But don't worry, because WWDC in June was going to be the saving grace for this year. This is when we'd get the big updates for iOS, iPadOS, macOS. We'd finally see the mixed reality headset. This was going to be Apple's big event of the year and was supposed to be super, super exciting. And to tell you the truth, there actually was a lot of good here. I mean, iOS 17, iPadOS, tvOS, watchOS, they're not revolutionary software updates, but you can't expect huge improvements and new, coats of paint and new looks for the software every single year. But Apple is doing their best and making some pretty good software experiences. That is all well and good. Vision Pro, on the other hand, is something I actually am super excited about. I know this has been in the rumor mill for a while. I know the price for $3,500 is very expensive. Yeah, there are some concessions here. You've got the wire tether going to the battery pack. Battery life doesn't seem all that good on its own. But for what this is supposed to do, give us an all new way to interact with apps and have these new virtual augmented reality experiences. And it's really Apple delivering us something totally new, which is what I and many people have been asking for forever. I, for one, am super excited for this, and I'm optimistic that it's going to be very cool when it launches next year. Yes, it took a long time. Yes, having it sort of crammed into WWDC seemed a bit odd, but I'm super excited for this. I gotta give Apple props because I'm sure this was not easy to develop or build, not gonna be easy to manufacture. The summer came and went as it typically does, pretty uneventful from the high that was WWDC, but then came the big fall event where we got a couple of new products. That was the iPhone 15 lineup and some all new Apple Watches. In terms of the iPhone 15 line, I think that Apple is doing some smart stuff here. I think the 15 Plus is a very great phone, gives you a lot of performance and power and versatility for the price. I think some of the 15 Pro features are awesome to see. ProRes, you've got the extra zoom on the Pro Max, the switch to titanium is great, but I will tell you honestly, with the risk of sounding like a very ungrateful, spoiled brat, I'm just gonna say it. The iPhone 15 series, specifically the iPhone 15 Pro, Apple's flagship phone for 2023, just didn't wow me. And still, even though I've had it since launch day, It's a fine phone, but am I blown away? No. For me, one of the things that irks me is that the iPhone's design has really seen no significant change since the iPhone 12. That's when Apple gave us the more boxy edges, scored off corners, the industrial design. Yeah, we've got the dynamic island and the bezels, strength and stuff like that, but like the body of the phone, the actual design here, has not really changed since the iPhone 12. And man, it just seems like this thing is so overdue for some sort of design overhaul. Personally, I find that I never use the action button. Maybe that's just me. And while USB-C is nice, should we really be praising a port change, something Apple was gonna do inevitably eventually, but they just sort of got pressured to do earlier because of regulations and laws? Should we be praising this as some big revolutionary feature or something that's just nice to have? I think USB-C is great, but to call it a big feature of this phone, to me sort of seems crazy. But before you comment down below, no, I'm not going to Android. I'm not gonna throw my iPhone away and go with something else. Still the best camera experience you can get, still a great screen, battery life's okay, power is great. I love the iPhone, but am I in love with the iPhone? I don't think so. Am I wowed by the iPhone? I don't think so. I think the design needs an overhaul. I think that there's something more Apple could be doing. And it seems like the attention to detail and the rapid innovation we used to get for the iPhone does not exist. I really hope that changes with the 16, but with the 15, I'm just gonna say it, color me a little disappointed. And while I'm already cracking down on Apple, let me just say that the Apple Watch updates for this year were almost so minor, they're downright laughable. I understand that Apple is sort of pressured to continue to make updates and do things and change things every single year. I get it, that's sort of part of the problem of the cycle we're in. But really what you'd get was what? The double tap wrist feature thing that you could already do in accessibility mostly. There wasn't even a new color for the Apple Watch Ultra. Very, very, very minor changes for Apple Watch this year, which almost makes you think if it's that minor, why not just not do anything and make the next generation so much better, which is sort of the rumor for the Series X or the Apple Watch 10 or whatever it's going to be. Just sort of disappointing on the Apple Watch side. As much as I love the Apple Watch, I saw no compelling reason at all to upgrade to the Apple Watch Ultra 2. Then there was the Scary Fast event with the M3 upgrades for the MacBook Pro, and that's all great. Space Black is really cool to see. I like what Apple's doing with their silicon. And honestly, I think that one of the highlights we've seen from Apple over the last couple of years is the MacBook Pro. There's a great example of Apple listening to their customers, giving them more power, bringing back ports, fixing the keyboard, admitting they were wrong, finally killing off the touch bar model. I'm sure I'm missing some odds and ends from the year. There were AirPods Pro with USB-C. There was the new Apple Pencil with USB-C. There was the Mac Pro that seemed like Apple missed an opportunity there to do something crazy because they basically just took out most of the components and stuck Apple Silicon in there. I don't know. To me, it just seems like it was a very confusing year for Apple. There were fragments of 2022 into 2023. There were weird timelines on when they're updating things. Things just seemed off. And look, I don't mean to rant for 20 minutes and talk about how much I dislike Apple or hate this or that. I understand this is a privileged position, and I understand that it's sort of a first world problem to rant on what the iPhone did or didn't have. But I'll say that as an Apple enthusiast, someone who's very passionate about this, I think we shouldn't be afraid to call it like it is. And when Apple misses the mark and does weird things and misses a big opportunity, we should be allowed to say that. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this? Apologize for my unhinged rant. I'm going off on my cold medicine here, telling it like it is on some of Apple's my grievances with Apple for 2023. But let me know your thoughts down below. What did you think? Was this year a good year, a bad year? Was it disappointing? Were there some missed opportunities? Let me know your thoughts on Apple down below. And if you had to give Apple a grade, a letter grade for this year, A through F, what would you give them? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if I'm crazy. Let me know if I'm spot on. Let me know if I should just stop talking, as I will do right now, and I'll grant you all your wish. Thank you guys, as always, for your support. I appreciate it. I'm Robert Rosenfeld. I'll see you all in the next one.